A8 and algorithmic thinking. So this assignment is complex, not because it requires any real complex functions or anything that we haven't learned yet. In fact, we know everything we need to know to do this. It's just a matter of breaking the problem down. So to refresh your memory, this assignment is, I'm going to give you some text. We're going to be using string functions to extract all the email addresses, print them out using a for loop, removing duplicates, and then I've got another list of email addresses that we're going to scan for in the addresses you pull out of the text. So if I pull up the assignment file, this is available in Canvas. It's got two strings. Both of them have several email addresses in them. And several of those email addresses are either surrounded or next to punctuation that does not belong in the email address. And that's there to make this task more complicated because we have to clean off the stuff that doesn't belong in the email address. So that's the tricky part of this. Okay, so we've got three functions that we're basically working on here, minimum, but three main functions. A function that takes a string and returns a list of emails, a function that removes the duplicates in the list, and a function that takes a list as input. Okay, so let's take a look at the rules for email. Right, we went over these last time. The rules for email is that it must have an @ sign. Every email address ever has an @ sign. It must have at least one dot after the @ sign. Not immediately after, but following. Must have at least one dot. Must have at least two characters after the final dot. Okay? So if it's bill@bmosley.f, not valid. Okay? Must not start or end with punctuation. And it can include only the following punctuation: the period, the hyphen, the underscore, and the @ sign. So now we can check for all of those things if we start thinking about this. Okay, so here is my email address. And you can see that I've added some punctuation at the beginning and end that makes it invalid as it stands. It's got an @ sign. So if I'm looking for email addresses, the first thing we need to do is we need to grab everything with the @ sign, right? So I take a string. How do I find all of the words that contain an @ sign? Well, we break the string into pieces and we look at each word and we say, does it have an @ sign? And if it does, we're going to add it to a list and we'll return that list at the end of the function, right? So let's look at that in code.